I missed, I was going to put a C. Now, after I add the first note, I will hit my right arrow key, and that adds this prompt. You notice that, like, here's my original note. Now it's like ready for the next note, basically. From this point, I won't touch my keypad, my mouse again, and it's going to be all with the keyboard. And I can do a C major scale just like this. Using the note letters on your keyboard will enter the note value, the note of that type. So I just typed D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And it added those notes for me. And so you add the first note. I just kind of get the prep on the, with the arrow key on the side. You see how it's kind of prompting me. You notice that it has this little cursor here and a note there. It's kind of prompting me my next note. Whatever I hit, it'll add the next note as far as the note type. So if I want to do like a scale in thirds, G, G, F, A, G, E, A, C, B. Okay, I can do thirds real quick as well. Think whatever, right? So without touching my mouse again after I get started, I can enter the notes. Let's do this here. So once again, if I wanted to do a C minor scale, C, D, E, flat, F, G, A, flat, D, flat, C. So I didn't touch my mouse again after I entered the first note. The first note you'll need to enter because it's kind of like a starting point, right? That's kind of a launching point for it. From that point forward, though, I don't need to touch my mouse again. I can do any kind of adding a whole line, alterations, all that, just using shortcuts. Questions so far? You have a problem? Are you getting like that? That's not good. I just lost everything. Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about some rests now, because obviously we will have rests in music. In the example we have today, I don't think there's really any rests going on, but you will have that. And there's a couple ways to do rest. We did it originally as using the simple entry palette, where we just click the rest value, you stick it in there, back and forth, slow as molasses, takes forever. The second method is when you add something, is this, and this is actually a method I used to use, but I found there's actually a faster way to do this. But, so if I wanted to, for example, go C, rest, D, rest, E, rest, right? Quarter note rest. When you add a note of the D, but I actually want that to be a quarter note rest, I can change that to a rest by hitting the R key. And that'll change it from a value to a rest. So then I can add the next one, D, down here, D, rest, whatever, E, E, G, rest, F, F, rest, G, G, rest. So you kind of like add the note and then you make it a rest. That's one way to do it. But there's actually a faster way, and that is if I wanted to do this, get away, right, is if I have a prep there, I have a quarter note prep. I can change this to whatever I want to, 4 or 5, whatever. Okay. But if I hit instead the number 0 on the numpad, that'll add a rest in the value which I'm indicating. So right now, C, rest, D, rest, E, rest, F, rest, G, rest, A, rest, B, rest, C, rest. Okay? So the 0 on the numpad is basically think like 0. There's no note there, but you'll add a rest for whatever value that we have indicated right here. So if I want to do the same thing but with 8 notes, for example, C, rest, D, rest, E, rest, F, rest, G, rest, A, rest, E, rest, right? C, rest. Okay? So I can quickly add rest, whatever I need to do. Questions? On page still?
So do you add the note and then hit the rest button?
You can't, so there's 2 different ways that you can add the note. If you add a note and then hit the rest button, that'll change the note you just added to a rest. Okay, so for example, if I add a C here on this last one here again, see how it's highlighted? that note, if I hit an R, that'll change that to a rest.
Okay.
Or if I hit R again, it will change it back to a note, but it will actually default to the middle line. Okay? Instead of doing that, in this method I just told you about, you're actually preemptively, you're just adding a rest preemptively. You don't have to change anything. Like it's going to add it, like you were adding a note, it just adds a rest in place of a note. Okay? So like when I was doing this before, if I went C, D, E, F, G, instead I'm going to go C, rest, D, E, rest, F, rest, G, right? Okay, so anytime I hit that 0, it adds another rest on the score. Huh? Okay, editing notes. We talked about how to move. If you need to, you can do this a couple different ways. There's a note mover tool, or if you need to move this note, move that note, whatever. It'll move that note. That's using this little note mover tool right here. It's called repitch. You just kind of hover over where it needs to be. It'll just move whatever note value is there, wherever you want it. It's called repitching. If you screw up and you realize it later, how do I move it later? That's how you can do it. If you need to delete specific notes, if you watch how this works, so the eraser key in Finale is a little bit finicky sometimes, in that, say I need to change this, or I need to make this a rest or get rid of this note. If I delete that E, everything shifts over, right? So basically removes that music and then everything shifts over. So sometimes it's a little, depending on what you need to do, a little difficult. For example, if I want to make this here a quarter note instead of an eighth note, I can't just change it to a quarter note. Look what happens when I try to do this. Why is it doing that?
Because there's too many beats.
There's too many beats to measure, right? So if I try to make this a quarter note, it won't let me. So what I have to do is I have to go in here, I have to delete that rest, then come back and change that value to a quarter note. Kind of a pain sometimes, but again, you're not really going to run into that with these examples that we have today. Okay. Selecting measures. Okay, let's talk about this real quick. The selection tool is the basic arrow that we have here in this main tool palette. There's an arrow here. That's our basic selector tool. Okay. And if you just click on any measure individually, it'll highlight the whole measure. Right? So if I click on any measure, it'll highlight the whole measure. Or if you click and drag, you can highlight parts of measures or parts of multiple measures. Right? Or just select beat 4, I can do that. For different reasons, we can talk about why later, but that's how we would select things. Now, if you need to select multiple measures, for example, I want to select measures 2 through 7 here. It's kind of hard for me to do. I can do this, but it kind of works, right? But I think it's always safer to select the first bar, hit and hold the shift key, and then click on whatever the last bar is that you want. So measure 8 or whatever it is. And it'll select that bar and everything in between. So what I want you to do right now is select the first bar, select your last bar of music, whatever it is, and just hit the backspace key. Poof, it's gone. That's how you remove stuff, make it rest, whatever. Select your measure, hit the backspace key, and it will remove that. Now, in this case, you see it deleted it completely, right? So we'll talk about how that is different from a score later on. If you need to just erase it, go up to Edit, Clear All Items. There's a shortcut for that as well. So if you want to make this just rest, clear all items. Okay? Well, we're in scores, it's a little bit easier to do, and I'll tell you that. I'll show you that in a little bit. All right. Good. So, I'm gonna pass out some music for you here.